Hello and welcome back. Video number 11 in the series, Be the Boss of You. I like the analogy because it's a way to relate. How are we managing our own lives? So today I wanted to give you another tool, something to be aware of to move you forward into a vibration, a frequency, an alignment with feeling good, with enjoying life and bringing to you those things that make you feel good. So here's a piece that you might want to be aware with. Now in some of the other videos we have talked about thought and belief and conflict there. And what a lot of people don't realize when they're thinking, speaking, that's where you want to be aligned all the time. We talked about default mode and that's really good. And now I want to take you a little further. So we're going to talk about energy drains. So remember when we're talking about energy, we're talking about frequency, aligning with a higher frequency so that you can pull in things that feel good to you, things that you desire to experience, instead of a lower frequency of, say, fear, grief, abandonment, loss. You don't want more of that. You want to bring in the higher frequencies, peace, creativity, joy. So one of the things that I notice for myself and in people I work with, we tend to just drain a lot of energy in things outside of our circle of influence. Now, circle of influence is what I first originally learned about in 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey. And you've probably heard me mention it before. I love that book. So circle of influence. You want to really bring your attention to you, to where you are. Now, what am I referring to here as energy drains? A lot of times people will, in the way they're speaking, writing, communicating, spend a lot of time on what they don't want. And that's a lower energy, and it's an energy drain. You're investing time. So a great analogy for that is, think of going to the grocery store. Do you walk down every single aisle and look at every product on the aisle and say, oh, I don't like that. That's terrible packaging. I wonder who would pick the labels, the colors for that label. That must taste awful. Who would eat that? I mean, maybe we do it to a degree. You might see something unusual and think about it, but would you do it for every item in the store? You wouldn't. And why not? Because it would be a big waste of time. Would you come home and tell somebody, oh, you know, in the store I saw these brands and I don't think I'd ever like them and they didn't look good and I don't think they'll taste good and I can't imagine who eats them. Well, you know, you could, but who would be interested? And yet, is this not what we do with our own thoughts very often? We're thinking of everything we don't want instead of staying incredibly focused and aligned and keeping all our energy in agreement with that which we want. So I'm going to give you some examples to think about. Think about politics. How many people will invest tremendous mental and emotional energy over views and opinions, over political thoughts, and yet they're not really out there making big changes? Now, if you are making changes, if you're out there getting signatures and you're out there changing laws and that is your profession, well then of course be fully vested in it. But if you're only investing energy in an opinion or something that dissatisfies you, you really might want to look at that. Where would your energy be better spent? This also happens a lot of time with religion. We get into heavy judgment, judging people or gossip, what we don't like about other people all the time, considering what we don't like, when really that energy could be so much better used if you stayed focused on what you want. Now, sometimes people will have problems with the word want, that it's a word of lower vibration because it's in scarcity. So it depends on where you are. So you might put what you desire, what you intend. I actually like the word want because I tap all the time. And also I speak to myself about the things that I own in my home, my clothing. They're things that I want. Everything I have, I want. And if I no longer have that resonance with it, I pass it along. Recycle it, donate it, throw it out. So want for me is not a low frequency word. And that's another good point. You want to be aware what words resonate with you in the having or the not having, as we talked about in a previous video. So again, how do you talk only about what you want? Now this can feel so difficult in our culture where we're not accustomed to it. Think of the conversations you have. Most people are spending 80% of their time and energy talking about what they don't want. Even when, think of this, so do you know people who will give you a compliment and then tag on a criticism with it? Like, I know when I started gaining weight, there were people who would say to me, hey, you look a lot better. You were too skinny before. What does that have to do with anything? It's really interesting that many of us cannot even stay in positive language, positive thought, positive emotion for even 5 minutes straight. Start paying attention to your conversations. Read the emails you write. Where are you throwing in opinion that hasn't been asked for? Which is going to take us into the next concept I want to take you to. So opinion, it's not factual. You know, sometimes I'll have people comment on my clothing, my hair, my tapping style. And again, everybody responds differently. There are things that I like today that I didn't like 10 years ago. There are vehicles, there are colors, there are foods, there are styles. You know, things are kind of fluid and evolving. So you want to watch how much of your time and energy are you putting in opinions that nobody's asked you for. You want to be really aware. What are you thinking? What are you sharing? So this brings me to another concept I want to take you to. So one energy drain is giving, we'll just put it right here, giving opinion or advice that hasn't been asked for. Is it received well? Well, it can be if you have somebody who's really open to that and has made a practice of being open with a non-judgment and not being defensive. But most people really don't want your opinion or your advice unless they specifically ask you for it or your help. So the rule I use and teach, a one-sentence rule to remember, only give that which will be received. So let's talk about that for a minute. Only give that which will be received. I'm going to write it down for you. Only give that which will be. Did I mix up my I and my E there? I before E except after C. Received. Only give that which will be received. So let's play with that for a minute. You want to really look. It's not about enabling somebody. It's not about giving and giving where somebody's behavior doesn't get better or their life doesn't improve. Then what you're giving is not really being received. Help is not being received if it is not creating a positive outcome. When have you ever wanted to just vent, tell somebody your sad story, maybe you had a flat tire and you want to talk about it, and then what happens? The person you're sharing with, when you're wanting the attention and you're wanting them to feel your misery or your fear or your stress or your frustration, they automatically go into their flat tire story. Or they try to fix the way you're feeling by offering you something, oh, well, don't worry about that. And really, is that what you want? So there's a solution to this. It's very simple. And the reason you might want to consider it is because it helps you align without draining energy and keeping your focus on your presence, on really managing your own emotions and your own thought state, your emotional state, and your energetic state. So when you're with somebody and they're conversing, ask them, is it that you would like my advice? Would you like my opinion? Or would you like me just to listen? Because if you do that, two things happen. The person in answering you has to stop and think, what do I really want from this exchange? And when they answer you, then their mind is going to be open to receiving that from you. And it's really very powerful because I do a lot of coaching. You know, I don't want to be that person who's always giving advice. Actually, I did try to be that person before. And when I wanted to fix everybody and I wanted to have everybody believe what I believed, it didn't work out so well. So today, with family and friends, I'm really careful to ask the question, oh, are you asking my opinion? Did you want my advice or did you want coaching? Or would you like me to just listen? And in that, I can very powerfully align my energies with giving that which will be received. And it feels really good. So it's a powerful way, and it's it's just a lovely feeling when you can deliver what somebody would like to receive. And why would you want to practice this frequency? Well, because it creates the ability for you to be in resonance with receiving that which you like. It's a spiritual law. Give to others as you would like to receive. And so listening to somebody, and when you ask them the question, you're inviting them to be more conscious in the conversation too. What is it they want? And if you want to vent, if you want to share your frustration or your stress, be sure that you frame it that way. Hey, I'm just going to vent and feel bad for a minute. Can you just witness it? And then check the time. How long are you going on about things that you don't want? It's okay to do it in a certain framework. Then you're just releasing it. But if you're going to keep going on about the same thing that you don't want endlessly, you're only resonating with it. So venting is really good. Of course, I always recommend tapping for that. And yet, I wanted to remind you, pay attention. What are your conversations like? If you have people that you're close to that you really trust, ask them what it's like for them to converse to you. Do you allow them to fully express themselves? Are you in the receiving mode of what they're sharing? Or are you trying to fix them, change them? We all recognize that when other people are doing it to us, and we don't really appreciate it. Okay? So remember, only give that which will be received. Help is not being received if a person's life or spirit or mental state is not getting better. Then whatever you're doing is not being received. That would be called enabling. Be sure that you're giving that which will be received, and you will see positive outcome from it. And practicing the giving of what will be received, you will be creating a like frequency of receiving more of what you would like to receive. So I hope that this one statement will stick in your mind and really help you out. And then pay attention, reread some of your emails, your letters, your conversations, or even listen when other people are talking. A fun way to get the ego involved is time it. How long can you go without mentioning something you do not want? And how long can somebody in a conversation go without mentioning what they do not want? Very powerful tool. I hope that it serves you well, and I'll see you in the next video.